We opened tonight with the grim news of another terror attack against Israelis in the Jordan Valley on Route 90. One victim was killed and another moderately wounded after a terrorist opened fire from a vehicle. Immediately following the attack, the IDF launched a manhunt to capture the terrorist. The Biden administration has taken a number of steps designed to reach a hostage for ceasefire agreement and de-escalate the region to prevent a wider war, while providing a massive boost to Israeli war efforts. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The U.S. is set to allocate $3.5 billion for weapons to Israel as part of a larger $14.1 billion package approved last April, and now as part of the resolute U.S. stance to protect Israel should the Iranian attack materialize. The U.S. Central Command announced that F-22 stealth fighter jets were sent to the region, and a U.S. amphibious assault ship has docked in Cyprus to be used if hostilities flare in the area. Several top Biden administration officials plan to travel to Israel and the region in the coming days for the hostage deal and ceasefire negotiations, and also to coordinate on the threats of retaliation coming from Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. President Biden had a one-word warning to Iran, while Vice President Kamala Harris emphasized the importance of reaching a ceasefire agreement.
Well, look, first and foremost, and the President and I have been working on this around the clock, we need to get the hostages out. We need a hostage deal and we need a ceasefire. And I can't stress that strongly enough. It needs to get done. The deal needs to get done, and it needs to get done now.
Over the weekend, U.S., Egyptian, and Qatari mediators issued a joint declaration calling for the completion of the hostage for ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. The Prime Minister's office responded positively to the appeal and will dispatch mediators to renewed talks this coming Thursday. The statement signed by President Biden, Egyptian President El-Sisi, and Qatari Emir Al-Thani said that mediators are ready to present Israel and Hamas with a final proposal, with only the details to be worked out. The joint statement by mediators was welcomed by the Hostages and Missing Families Forum, which thanked the country's leaders for their commitment to the release of the 115 hostages held in Hamas captivity for 310 days. They also called on Prime Minister Netanyahu to demonstrate leadership and finalize a deal for the return of all hostages.
This upcoming summit must not become yet another set of delays with no fruitful outcome. This is a final summit. You cannot leave there without securing a hostage release deal.
The White House said there is still a significant amount of work to do. Thursday will be the resumption of the talks, not their finalization.
Day 310 of the war in Gaza, and the Air Force conducted a precision strike on a Hamas operations center in northern Gaza, located in a school. Some 19 Hamas gunmen were killed in the strike, while Hamas initially claimed 100 casualties, a number later revised to around 40. Despite this, many media sources continued citing Hamas's 100 figure, adding criticism to Israel. North of the border, heavy IDF clashes with Hezbollah continued, and the Air Force targeted and killed the top Hamas commander based in Lebanon. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The Air Force used precision munitions to take out a Hamas operations center in northern Gaza located in a school. The IDF issued proof of 19 Hamas gunmen killed in the strike. The IDF took steps to limit civilian casualties before launching the strike, but there were reports of civilian casualties.
Early this morning, the IDF conducted a precision strike against the terrorists in one specific building of the compound, an area that, according to our intelligence, no women and children were present. You can see in a video published by us today that the compound is still intact and that there is no significant cratering or damage to the main structure of the compound. This pattern of systematic abuse of schools for military activities by Hamas and Islamic Jihad endangers both Gazans and Israeli civilians.
Elsewhere in Gaza, a new IDF operation is underway in Khan Yunis, and civilians have been ordered to relocate from some areas in the city. The 98th Division launched the operation based on intelligence that Hamas gunmen had returned to the area. The Air Force struck more than 30 Hamas targets in Khan Yunis, including weapons storage facilities. The IDF said it's operating above and below ground to eliminate terrorists as part of the effort to degrade the terror organization's capabilities throughout the Gaza Strip as they attempt to regroup. Meanwhile, according to security sources, the IDF and Shin Bet are closing in on Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Targeted killings of Mohammed Dif and Ismail Haniyeh and so many others have begun to take a toll. The sources told reporters that Sinwar's movement area and that of other Hamas leaders are getting smaller and smaller. One security source estimates that the Hamas leader is running out of places to hide. 9 days after the assassination of Hezbollah commander Shukr in Beirut, Hezbollah has yet to carry through with its promise of a large-scale retaliation, but intense tit-for-tat exchanges are ongoing. Over the weekend, the IDF targeted and killed the senior Hamas official Samer al-Hajj in Lebanon in a drone strike near Sidon. Al-Hajj was responsible for mortar and rocket launches from Lebanon in the Ain el-Khilwa Palestinian refugee camp near Sidon. In response, Hezbollah launched explosive-laden drones at northern Israel. One was intercepted and others landed and caused damage. Some 11 miles south of the border, a treatment and rehabilitation center was badly damaged. No injuries have been reported.
As the Islamic Republic of Iran continues to promise an attack on Israel, reports from inside Iran are showing internal division on how to respond. In recent days, newly elected President Masoud Pezeshkian has proposed attacking Israeli targets in foreign countries, such as Azerbaijan or Iraq, rather than a direct strike on Israel. His reason for this is that Israel has immense capabilities to destroy Iran's infrastructure that, according to reports, could even topple the regime. On the other side, Ayatollah Khamenei and other IRGC leaders have pledged a strong multi-day attack targeting major Israeli bases and infrastructure. There have also been conspiracies that the IRGC is attempting to sabotage the new president's term by drawing the country into a massive regional war, including with its proxies in the region, as he's claimed that he seeks to reduce international tensions and the isolation of the Islamic Republic, in contrast, of course, to the agenda of the IRGC. Amidst fears of a large-scale regional war breaking out, the regime is facing tremendous international pressure not to respond to the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, which took place in Tehran, which the regime attributed to Israel. Israel, however, has not claimed responsibility for the assassination. While the IRGC has not yet attacked Israel, they have been conducting numerous live-fire drills and have repeatedly issued NOTAM alerts to close Iranian airspace, leading many to suspect an imminent attack on the state of Israel. The regime has yet to carry out this wide-scale strike on Israeli targets, yet regime proxies have been busy throughout the region, attacking U.S. targets in Syria and Iraq, injuring American service personnel. The Islamic regime in Iran has been very clear in their attempt to attack the U.S. and Israel alike, and their proxy in Yemen, the Houthis, have been striking U.S., British, and other international ships for months. Experts have hypothesized that a strike against Israel could take place directly from Iranian soil or from the regime's numerous proxy groups that have already been attacking Israel since October 7th. This week, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett spoke candidly about the fact that the Islamic Republic is already waging an all-out war on the state of Israel, which we have no choice but to win.
We don't want to annihilate them, but Iran wants to annihilate Israel. Hamas wants to annihilate Israel. Hezbollah wants to annihilate Israel. So what we're doing is a defensive war against Iran, against its proxies, in order to defend ourselves.
In the meantime, Israelis are waiting and making necessary preparations at the military and civilian level for the event of an escalation. And now here with us to discuss the debate taking place in Tehran today and the West's response is Sarah Raviani from the National Union for Democracy in Iran. Sarah, thank you for joining us as always. I'd like to start by getting your analysis of this internal debate coming out of Iran right now. Do you think that the regime is truly divided on this, or could this entire production be psychological warfare ahead of a strike from Iran?
You know, I think that no matter who is president in Iran, the Islamic Republic's policies are not going to change. We've seen this time and time again, where the regime has pushed rhetoric that they will do this, that, and the other. I mean, Pezeshkian himself campaigned and co-opted the slogan "Woman, Life, Freedom," when we know that women in the streets of Iran are still being beaten for not wearing their hijabs. So I think any rhetoric that's being pushed by Pezeshkian or any Islamic Republic official is really just noise.
Can you tell us more about Pezeshkian and why he might be advocating for a strike on Israeli targets in Iraq or perhaps even Azerbaijan rather than a significant strike coming from the Islamic Republic itself, from Iranian soil?
I think that this could be just talk and, like I said, noise. I think that ultimately Khamenei, the supreme leader himself, will make that call. And he has said that he does not care if he drags the whole region into a broader war. So Pezeshkian saying that he may strike Iraqi Kurdistan or Azerbaijan, it really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. And I think at the end of the day, innocent lives will still be lost. And that's something that they don't care about. They don't care how many lives they sacrifice. They don't care if it's Israeli lives, if it's Iranian lives, or if it's Arab lives.
I think perhaps maybe they actually are trying to see more casualties in the Middle East. I mean, we've seen how they've reaped destruction all over the Middle East from the Arab Muslim world. The majority of their casualties, in fact, are from the Arab Muslim world. A lot of people don't realize that. I did want to ask you a little bit about something else that's happening in Iran this week. There's been a wave of executions that have largely gone unnoticed. I mean, there were 29 executions in one day alone. And this is a pattern in Iran that the regime uses international events as cover and as distraction to really attack their own people. How is this going unaddressed by the international community?
It's so unfortunate, but unfortunately, it's nothing new. We saw, a large media blackout through so many surges and executions. And it's really the Iranian people that are the true victims in all of this, when all of the crimes of the Islamic Republic are able to be committed and go unnoticed, and they're able to just wreak havoc across the entire Middle East. We saw right before October 7th, they had killed a young woman. She was 17 years old, Armita Garavand. And as soon as October 7th happened, all of the attention and on the human rights abuses that the Islamic Republic had committed had completely just been washed away. And they were able to then pick up the Palestinian cause and pretend like they actually care about Arab lives when they don't care at all.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Sarah, for sharing your insights, and hope to have you on again in the future.
Thank you.
As Israel braces itself for a retaliation for the elimination of top Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr and Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, preparations continue to be made for an imminent attack. ILTV's Ariella Lahiani has more.
Yes, Emily. So as Israel begins another week in preparation for an imminent attack from the Islamic Republic, preparations are underway, including ambulances stocking up on blood supplies in fortified underground centres, local authorities checking bomb shelters and water supplies, and factories removing hazardous materials. More in the following report. In light of increasing tensions and the looming threat of an attack from Iran and its allies, Israel has been ramping up its defensive preparations. The country's ambulance service has secured blood supplies in a fortified underground facility, while factories have relocated hazardous materials to safer locations. Local governments are also taking action, inspecting bomb shelters and water supplies to ensure they are ready for any potential strike. Israel has been bolstering its defences for months since October 7th. However, the urgency has heightened dramatically in the past 10 days as the conflict with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, which is backed by Iran, threatens to escalate into a broader regional war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation on Wednesday, urging citizens to remain calm and patient. He assured them that Israel is well prepared for both defense and offense, striking at its enemies while remaining committed to protecting itself. The threat of a multi-front war is now a stark reality, with Israel facing militant groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen, all supported by Iran. An attack is anticipated in the coming days following recent vows from Iran and Hezbollah to retaliate for the assassinations of key leaders in Tehran and Beirut. As the situation unfolds, Israel's military has enhanced its alert systems, including real-time text message alerts for targeted areas. In Haifa, bomb shelters have been upgraded with digital systems and generators, and underground parking lots have been designated as makeshift shelters. The city's Rambam Hospital is on high alert, with its underground facility prepared to treat patients if needed. National Ambulance Service Magen David Adom has taken extra precautions, collecting blood donations in a heavily fortified underground center. Factories are being monitored closely to manage hazardous materials, and the Bank of Israel is ensuring that cash reserves are sufficient to meet any surge in demand. With the potential for a prolonged conflict, Israel is leaving nothing to chance, taking extensive measures to protect its citizens and maintain critical services.
This week, ILTV's Lidar Grave-Lazi sat with Israeli Minister of Aliyah, Ophir Sofer, to discuss the increase in immigration to Israel following the outbreak of the war and how the ministry is making an extra effort to assist Jews worldwide in helping them come home to Israel. Let's take a look.
We're here with Israeli Minister of Aliyah and Absorption, Ophir Sofer. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is a time of unprecedented global anti-Semitism where Jews are once again being targeted simply for being Jewish. Many feel unsafe abroad. Is this having an impact on Aliyah? Are you seeing an increase in the number of Jews expressing a desire to move to Israel?
The answer is yes. I think that since 7 October, we see a strong solidarity of the entire Jewish people that coming to Israel. We see solidarity missions, we see financial support, the rallies, and we see a group of youth that coming and volunteer in the north, in the south, in the kibbutzim, moshavim. And I think that the top of the solidarity is that people who decided to make Aliyah. And this is it's moving and exciting.
And even with October 7th, with the ongoing war with Hamas, with the Iranian threat, we're still seeing a desire to move to Israel?
I think that the feeling of solidarity is the main or the core reason that people decided to make Aliyah. It's clear that anti-Semitism, it's also an impact or influence on their decision, but the solidarity is the main reason that people are making Aliyah. What we has experienced in the 7th October, that Hamas and our enemies try to defeat or to destroy or to damage Israel. And our answer is that is the Aliyah. It's the Zionism. It's the continuing of Israel.
Now, you recently launched a 170 million shekel plan called Af al Pi Chen, or nonetheless in English, for Aliyah and Absorption. So first of all, what can you tell us about the name of this plan? What's its significance? And what are some of its main goals?
Af al Pi Chen, it's mean despite the war. We continue as a strong state and as a strong people. And Aliyah is a core principle of Zionism. I received a lot of messages from citizens that ask me about what is going on with Aliyah. It's inspired all people here in Israel, the wave of Aliyah, right in this time, in these challenging days.
And what are the main goals or the main aims of this plan?
We focus on 3 points, on Hebrew, rent, and student. In Hebrew, we build new, wide, and diverse possibilities of options for learning Hebrew. We help with rent, especially in the north and the south, in the Galil, Negev. And with the student, we built 27 new programs in the best universities in Israel, and it is going well. And I hope that we will develop these programs in the next years.
From which countries are you seeing the most interest today?
We see that in Canada, United States, England, and also in France.
And so what are some of the main challenges facing people making Aliyah today?
As I mentioned, language. But we talked about the solution or about what we plan to do. And I think that the second or the major challenge is the bureaucracy. And now we advance new programs to make the process smooth.
And if you had a message for the Jewish diaspora, for those thinking of making Aliyah, what would that message be?
Israel is experiencing challenging days. Israel is experiencing historic days. Israel needs you. And I want to express our commitment for supporting and to welcoming each and every one of you.
Minister Ophir Sofer, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much.
And now the 2024 Paris Olympics, a topic we've been closely covering here on ILTV, is coming to an end. Israel's record-breaking performance this year at the Olympic Games serves as an incredible testament to Israeli resilience during wartime. Now let's go to ILTV correspondent Devo Klein to wrap up this year's Olympic highlights. Devo, what a year you've had. You've been following the Games this year closely. Take us through some of the highlights.
Right. Well, first, before we get into the highlights, Emily, I'd like to say a huge congratulations to our Israeli rhythmic gymnastics team who secured Israel's 7th and record-breaking silver medal this year. They did an incredible job with their floor routine, coming in second this past weekend and bringing in the silver medal. I just want to give some context to our viewers at home just to discuss how significant this year has been for Israeli Olympics. Obviously, our first medal came in the sights of Yael Arad, the Israeli judoka who brought silver in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. That was the first Israeli medal, and the first Israeli gold medal was Gal Friedman, who won the sailing competition in the 2004 Athens Olympics. So with the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, Israel started securing a little bit more gold medals than before. We had 2, and now we are at 4 with Tom Reuveni, who got a gold this year in sailing. And with 7 medals coming out of this year's Olympics from Paris, Emily, we've actually almost doubled the amount of medals that we had last year, which was 4. So what an incredible testament to what we are going through right now, especially during wartime. It's absolutely incredible. So let's just take a closer look at some of the highlights. The closing ceremony of the Olympics is set to take place tonight in Paris, rounding off a record-breaking year for Israeli athletes. The last medal secured by the Israeli team was a silver won by the Israeli rhythmic gymnastics team after placing second overall. With the gymnastics silver, the Israeli team was just 1 medal shy from doubling its medals won from the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, marking an all-time Israeli Olympic record. This year's Games also saw Israel win its 4th ever gold medal, with Tom Reuveni placing first in the men's windsurfing event. The first gold medalist from Israel was also in sailing, won by athlete Gal Friedman in the 2004 Athens Olympics. The second gold in Israeli history was won by Ukrainian-Israeli gymnast Artem Dolgopiat, securing gold in the 2020 Tokyo Games alongside Linoy Ashram, who also left Tokyo with the gold medal in rhythmic gymnastics. This year in Paris, we saw the return of Olympic champion Dolgopiat, who was one of the 7 medals coming out of Paris. He scored silver with his floor routine. Alongside gymnastics and sailing as Israel's strongest categories, the Israeli judokas also had an incredible run this year, making up 3 of the 7 Israeli medals. Inbar Lanir with silver, Raz Hershko, who also won silver, and Peter Palchik with bronze were the Israeli judokas that brought Israelis together last weekend. Palchik, who got emotional after his match, dedicating his bronze to the son of his coach, who tragically fell fighting in Gaza, reminding Israelis nationwide of the shared Israeli struggle this year, making these wins even more emotional. We will see you all in LA 2028.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight around the country, as temperatures should reach lows of around 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, mostly sunny skies and hot weather are expected, as temperatures should climb and reach highs of 34 degrees Celsius or 94 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For all the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to check out our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.